This podcast contains discussions around depression and suicide. If you're experiencing feelings of sadness, depression or thoughts of self-harm, stop, seek help now. There is someone waiting to talk to you right now on Lifeline's crisis hotline, 131114, or call 000. This podcast may also contain some unintentional coarse language and political incorrectness.
Nah. Nah. Nah, bugger that. Nah, you wouldn't be dead for Quids.
Welcome to You Wouldn't Be Dead for Quids, the Augustella Fella podcast, which is a no BS discussion on what life throws at you and how to deal with it. I'm Ruth Geiss. I'm here with the fella from Augustella himself, Graham Cotter. Graham, how you doing today?
Wouldn't be dead for Quids, Ruth.
Now, of all the roles you've taken on in life, Graham, so we're talking from, bank teller to paper delivery to tyre magnate. I want to know more about your goals. So, for instance, why are you a goat farmer?
That's a question I ask myself on a regular basis, especially when they've gotten out and I'm in trouble with the neighbours.
How many do you have?
I've got about 80 there at the moment, Ruth. Yeah.
80?
Yeah.
Now, is it true that they eat anything? Like literally anything?
No, not really. They're very selective eaters, and they're actually browsers, not grazers. So they like to eat with their heads up. So they tend to eat trees and shrubs and all that sort of stuff. So
So they don't have a go at the washing or your favourite hat.
Oh, they'll probably have a taste and walk away and brown paper bags, anything like that. So I like to liken selling baby goats as the same as selling homing pigeons, because when people come and take them away, is when you take the money off and you say no refund, because you can guarantee they'll be back in about 3 or 4 months after they've eaten all the plants and jumped all over the car, so they come back.
Oh my God, climbing on the car with those. So do you have a favourite goat?
Yeah, easy to do, especially the ones that you hand raise, the bottle raise. So, and they come up to you as well, they're amazing animals actually.
Do you give them names? I suppose 80 is a lot of names.
Yeah, no, mainly the does or the hand raised ones. They always have a name. So
yeah.
So they really are an incredible creature. They really are.
So who's your favourite doe?
Well, actually, she must have a fair sort of age about her now. Darla, her name is. She's just a bitch.
So it's Darla.
Darla, yeah.
Darla the bitch. What do you think that we humans can learn from goats?
Well, actually, they're no different to us, because the grass is always greener on the other side of the fences, so which is a human trait. Always one of the funny stories that always remember the Gallagher electric fence man. I ran into him at a field day, and we were talking about fencing for goats and what have you, and he went on to tell me that what you do and all the rest of it, and he said, and when you've got the fence set up and you reckon you've got it nailed, he said, you got to go and get a bucket of water and throw it at the fence. If the water goes through it, so will the fucking goats. And that's a true
Great
story.
Endorsement.
So that's true.
So do goats get depressed?
Actually, they're amazing animals, and I guess animals in general are amazing, and I sort of spend a fair bit of time just fairly blessed. So we've got goats and sheep and cattle and pigs and horses and what have you. So, and I guess they do. Goats, if they're put under stress, they and any animal actually, I've seen cattle do it as well. enough stress and they'll just die. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's pretty sad actually. Like me to say when you lose animals.
And that's the thing about being on the land, or it's not like you don't care. That stuff hurts.
Yeah, it does. It really does. And sort of, the greenies and all the rest of it, give the impression that, farmers don't care. If there's a farmer that doesn't care, he's very, very, very much the exception and certainly not the rule, because, farmers do care about their livestock and it's a privilege, so which they appreciate.
So, as a species, are we the only ones capable of taking our own lives? I mean, I guess I know we have whales who can beach themselves for various reasons, whether they're unwell or navigation, etc., etc. But are we the only species who considers taking their own life?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I come across that the other day. Actually, I was listening to something or reading something. Yeah, and we are actually, and pretty amazing species, and it's that muscle between our ears that makes us so different. And it's an amazing what it can and how it functions and all the rest of it. But the thing about the brain is that with all the technology and what have you that's around today, still know bugger all about it really.
Yeah.
So but finding out more and more, and there's more and more things come. The discussion on depression and suicide, it's been around since the beginning of time, almost since Adam and Eve. Sort of all those Greek philosophers and all those sorts of things, and the Bible itself, and it's all about that struggle with life, pretty much, and it all, and it's our brain that's the driver for that.
What are your thoughts on why humans actually consider it?
I guess it's to shut out the noise. I spoke before about the gremlins, and the self-criticism.
The feral sherrills.
The feral sherrills, yeah, and the thing about it is that one of the rules of the mind is that our minds respond to the words we say and the pictures we make. So you have to change the words, change the pictures, and change your life. It's what's in our head. I say to people, I've had endless amounts of trauma and strife in my life, and some of it actually happened. Most of it was in my head. Past is, it's what's happened, and reliving that, especially if it's not a good thing, is you got to let it go, and that's part of and serious incidents in our past. Can haunt us for the rest of our lives. Like people with phobias about frogs and spiders and those sorts of things. Something's happened. That, why do some and not others? Well, it's some event in someone's life that's caused that to happen more often. With the girl who has a phobia about frogs, was probably a brother threw one at her when she was little. And kept throwing it at her until it traumatised her to the point where she's petrified. So and those things happen. It's that simple.
Yeah. With the noise, with the feral sherrills and the gremlins and all of that kind of thing. So how do you shut them up, Graham? How do you shut them up?
Well, I guess it's the way you think. So as I said, the mindfulness is one of those ways and means of doing that, and mindfulness is a heightened awareness of what we're thinking, the environment we're in, and very importantly our values. Mindful of our values, and it's when we sort of get out of sync with our values. Sometimes that causes those gremlins to appear, because if you've done the wrong thing, you've got to put it right, and the way we talk to ourselves as well. To say part of what we need to do is recognise, having a heightened awareness of what we're thinking, and say, well, if that doesn't sit with with your values and who you are, you shut it down. It's a bit like the rubber vine with the mattock. You see it, you cut it down, and when it comes back, cut it down again. So and it's getting into that, being mindful of those thoughts and the words you're saying to yourself and the pictures you're creating in your head, and if they don't sit with who you want to be and who you are, then shut them down.
And so, because, I hear a lot about mindfulness, and we've talked about this before. I think I've heard the word mindfulness so much that it's become, I'm a bit immune to it. I'm a bit like, yeah, mindfulness, yeah, tried that once. Yeah. But it's, if maybe you can just sort of give us an example of when people say, oh, you need to be more mindful. It's like, well, how? What is it that you want me to do? How do I be mindful? Is there like an exercise or something that you could start with to go, if you feel that your mind is racing or your gremlins have come in or feral Cheryl's in your ear, what do you say to yourself at that point? What do you do at that point?
Well, for me personally, when I first started to practice mindfulness, I had a mantra that I used to say is, and when I become, because mindfulness is a heightened awareness. Mm-hmm. So a heightened
and it takes
awareness.
Practice.
Yeah, well, just being aware.
Yeah.
And in my case, the quickest and most efficient way is to spend a minimum of 20 minutes each morning before you start your day, just sort of meditation or whatever, but just centering yourself and being aware of. I go through a process of feeling my body, arms, legs, sort of. And then the environment around me, and then reconnect with the values, and then that process goes on to just basically get my head straight, turning my brains on and lining up my head brain with my gut and heart brain, and having those all tuned in, and then just I spend a fair bit of time on the abundance that surrounds me, abundance of time, abundance of energy, abundance of love, abundance of money, and
so it's that appreciation.
Yeah.
You appreciate those things that are all around you. You recognise that they are there, and you focus on those things. So, someone who's never done it before, if they just, rather than the 20 minutes, what's just that process of, closing your eyes and taking a few deep breaths, feeling your feet, feeling your ankles, like how does that?
Yeah, well, even breathing, just focus on your breathing. You just concentrate on your breathing. You just feel your breath coming in, breathing out, breathing out, and focus on nothing else but that. So, and you can do that wherever you're doing, like whatever you're doing. So, you're driving the car, and it's a bit hard to close your eyes. So, but your breathing is something that you can focus on as you're doing that process. It's not interfering with everything. So
if you catch yourself with your mind running off in all directions or the wrong directions, or you start making things up, then it's just a case of being able to recognise, I'm doing it. Yeah. Breathe in, breathe out. Yeah. Breathe in, breathe out.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And
yeah.
In my case, I used to say, just say to myself over and over was, I live in a world of abundance. I live in a world of abundance. I live in a world of abundance. And eventually, it shuts it down, and you move on. So
because it can be that simple.
Yeah.
I guess. If I look at it and it's like, so I need to do this and I have to spend 20 minutes doing that and this is what I do. So like in that very, very, those first steps to be able to go, I live in a world of abundance. Yeah. I live in a world of abundance is much, and I breathe in and I breathe out and I breathe in and I breathe out and I live in a world of abundance is just start with that, I guess. You don't need to start with 20 minutes, but start with something.
Yeah. Well, what we need to do is get back to where we are now. So that's to get back to the present. So to pull yourself back to the present, because
not dwelling in the past,
not dwelling in the past, or stressing over the future. So so to get back to where we are now, right now.
Yeah.
and appreciating what we have right now. Like I mean to say, we sort of the number of people you see walking around with things in their ears and what have you, and part of mindfulness, an easy way to that is get those out of your ears, and if you're going for a jog or a walk or whatever, listen to the birds, watch the kids riding past on push bikes, just notice where you are, and the smells and those sorts of things, and make sure you don't step in dog shit if you're out walking. Cause,
scoop your poop, people, scoop your poop. So, Nick, do you work with clients with mindfulness? Do you?
Yeah. No, I actually have given a meditation to a number of people, and eventually, as I suggest to them, and that is build your own. Use this one as a reference, and it's one that I do every morning, and the number of people that do that, it makes an amazing difference, and it really is that simple, and mindfulness is very much part of the RTT process and the recording that I do as well. So it's it's who you are, and being the person you want to be here and now.
So on that note, I guess we'll wrap up this episode. I'll tell you in a minute how you can maybe have a chat to Graham. Make sure you check out episode 3 that is coming up. What have we got coming up in the next episode, Graham?
I just will have a yarn about getting into the most powerful mental state you can possibly get into, and exercising that muscle between your ears, and that's very simple actually.
Awesome. Okay, now remember, Graham is available for consultations, whether that be face-to-face or online. But most importantly, if you do want to chat, there's a 30-minute, a free 30-minute consultation where you and Graham can just have a yarn and see whether there's something that you can help each other with. And the link is www.kissbusiness.com.au. Again, we will put the link in the description. You have been listening to Graham Cotter, the Augathella Fella podcast. You wouldn't be dead for Quids. Thank you so much, Graham, and we will catch you soon for episode 3.
If you're experiencing feelings of sadness, depression, or thoughts of self-harm, stop and seek help now. Call Lifeline 24/7 crisis hotline 131114, or call 000.